And welcome back to Epic Mickey. It sure was an interesting venture up to Mickey Jug Mountain, but now that we've seen Oswald, maybe we should head back to Mean Street.
Looks a lot better.
Actually, yeah, come to think of it, it's looking pretty colorful in that backdrop. Was it always the screen?
This is Oztown.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And we also found Gilda's climbing axe earlier, near the base of Mickey Jug Mountain. That completes a side quest. And Gilda could also provide races for us, just like she did in Mean Street. She has one for each of the main hub areas.
Man, like, this is, yeah. Definitely, pulling in some of the, like, Nintendo 64 collectathon cliches.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it's a thinly veiled excuse to make sure the player is familiar with the layout of each of the hub worlds.
Is there a reason why that would be relevant?
I mean, I guess when you're dealing with such open-ended design in a game for children, yeah, I think that's kind of important.
I'm imagining a 10-year-old kid trying to beat Gilda at one of these races for 4 hours.
I mean, I did spend a lot of time... I forget, was it Donkey Kong 64 that had those, like, minecart races?
I think that was Banjo-Tooie. Also, I hate to interrupt you here, but there is a very interesting glitch here. You mash A at the end of this race, and you can do it again. This is the only race in all of Gilda's races that you could do this.
Oh, is there something we can get from doing this glitch?
Yeah, we get a duplicate power spark. So we won the original race, and then we could do it again and get another power spark for it.
Wonderful. And this means, does this break any intended routing, or...
Actually, from what I remember, it's significantly slower than most other methods for power spark collection, but it is interesting to do. And I think the maximum number of power sparks is 44, which then becomes 45 when you get this duplicate one.
And how many do you need to actually win the game?
Oh, significantly fewer than that. I think it's 15.
Really? So what does the rest of them go to?
Well, they're there because this game has so many optional and mutually exclusive quest lines. The number of quests is significantly more than 44, but because you can't get certain power sparks on specific side quest lines, it'll become much more relevant once we go to the next dungeon area, where we start to see entire quest lines that are mutually exclusive to one major choice or another that you make in those other areas. Yeah, we'll come back to that later.
This game's offering more actual choice than your average Telltale game.
And speaking of, here's actually one of the major consequences of a quest that I forgot to do. Actually, the first time you go through Oztown, if you speak to Clarabelle again, she'll ask you to get ingredients for an ice cream cake. But because I forgot to do that, instead, we will give Horace Horsecollar a pie instead.
That's not really what I was thinking when I usually think of, like, the consequences of moral choices.
Well, you get different rewards for them, and in fact, this game takes a minimum of 3 playthroughs to get every item in the game. And you have to remember to do certain quests differently, or occasionally to fail quests outright, because failing the quest would give you, like, a specific pin or another power spark you wouldn't get otherwise. There's actually one in the next major area that we'll see. I think it's in this video.
So by bringing Horace the pie instead of an ice cream cake, you've created a bizarro world where Horace will eventually grow up to be evil and produce terrible 50s movies.
Yes.
I mean, as we know, only evil people like pies instead of cakes.
And as I think I mentioned before, the Japanese re-release of this game allows you to skip 2D sections you've played before. Although it does at least have the interesting novelty that you go through them backwards when you're backtracking, which I think is neat. Oh, look who it is.
Hi, Oswald.
Hey, mouse. Did you like my sunglasses?
I really love Oswald's just complete, like, grumpiness.
Yeah, his voice does a lot to sell his grumpus character. As well as this animation coming up. We turn our backs to Oswald,
Aww.
but you turn around.
That's good.
However, there's a glitch. If you go into first-person mode... Aw, you son of a bitch!
They did have fun with this, didn't they?
If you have a listen to the music here... There's different instrumentation. It sounds a bit lighter. It's not as heavy on the bass. And that's because we have 3 Tint Guardians with us. The music changes. It has different layers depending on...
Oh, that's cool. That is cool.
I've never seen that glitch before or since, by the way.
Oh, you talking about Mickey doing a bit of a moonwalk there?
Yep. And some NPC dialogue will change, depending on what choices you made in previous areas.
Does it make a difference in terms of your, I guess, moral choices that there are blue Mickey heads flying out of people?
Yes, I think it's when NPCs like you, there are blue Mickey heads, as opposed to, if you use a lot of thinner, then they're probably just sitting in a pile of goop. We also picked up a real cartoon. If you go into the extras menu, you can see Oh What a Night, which was one of the Oswald cartoons that we went through at a 2D level earlier. That was one of the 3 trials.
Ooh, pirates.
Well, I mean, we met Moody already. He said he had a cousin out in Ventureland, wherever that is. Yeah, it's kind of easy to tell that he knows who we are. I've noticed.
I've never seen more mice burnt in effigy in my life.
So Horace being a detective is, a general reference to his role in the comics where Mickey and Horace would solve murder mysteries together or what have you, or the Disney family-friendly version of murder mysteries anyway.
I mean, yeah, like, I remember there were quite a few, like, robberies that Mickey foiled. Like, the less grisly crimes.
So here's what Mickey does as a freelance private detective. I mean, we could paint in all of these footprints, but that seems like too much work. We can see where they're going anyway.
How zany.
You okay back there?
Oh, yeah, they're fine. Just got a little, temporarily displaced.
I've mentioned a couple of times that the camera isn't great. The camera is actually fixed in this area unless you go to first-person mode. And, I mean, on top of my own incompetence, I think that it was, a good representation of the camera being really bad when it comes to compensating for which areas of the geometry might be painted in.
Oh, I know.
Here's our culprit.
With a name like that, he could only be an upstanding citizen.
I really wish the name of the side quest was No Shifty, Sherlock.
That'd be good.
I don't think they could get away with that in an E-rated game. Although,
I mean, it would be a nice title for the movie, or the video, that is.
Well, looks like if we want to convict him without resorting to bribery, we have to paint in all of the footsteps.
Caught blue-footed.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you damn kids.
Well, time to report Horace back with our findings, and we also have that pie we need to give him. Hopefully it hasn't gone cold.
Look at that, they're dancing.
They're actually dancing in time with the music, which all the NPCs do when you have a sufficient amount of Tid Guardians with you. At this point in his career, it's nice that Horace has actually realized that outsourcing most of the dirty work is better for his business.
I mean, it's worked for some of the great detectives. Like
Sherlock Holmes and his network of homeless children.
I was thinking more, like there's this one detective guy who mostly just stays at home, and he sends out this guy to do all the footwork for him. His name's on the tip of my tongue.
We could also buy power sparks from various stores around the world, although those are separate power sparks. They're not a replacement for any of the other power sparks that you would get from side quests. They're their own thing.
I have to admit, the music is catchy. That's gonna be in my head for a while.
That it is. I think the composer, his name is James Dooley.
Jim Dooley, he immediately got what I was trying to get at. I mean, that Disney style, he was able to describe it in ways that I almost understood, and he was able to capture it.
He's done a lot of work with Jerry Bruckheimer, who's been a producer of Disney stuff in the 2000s and was also an assistant on Hans Zimmer. He definitely worked on the Pirates of the Caribbean films, at least the first couple. What I'm saying is he had the right connections to get him this job.
Sure. And once again, this game has a very strange pedigree.
Strange in what way?
Between the game company that worked on it and the composer, there's a lot of big names that you would not have expected to do this.
Yeah, it's definitely got a lot of, like, real, I guess, composition to it, this music. Like, it feels a lot more intricate than something you'd hear from, say, Nintendo 64 era, like Grant Kirkhope or something. Like, there were some really, like, intricate compositions there, like, in those games.
Jeez, Oswald, that was cold.
I kind of missed that. What did he say?
He asked Mickey why he had to come here.
Wow, this guy's a jerk.
That never gets old. Well, I guess it's off to Tomorrow City, which is the next major hub area.
Ooh. Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
The 2D level here is inspired by Plutopia from 1951. Basic idea behind this cartoon is that Mickey goes off to a summer camp called Utopia. He brings Pluto with him, but he's not allowed to keep Pluto in the house or in the cabin because it has a no animals policy. So Pluto is left outside, and he has a dream of a dog-friendly camp called Plutopia. He also gets into a fight with a cat. That's the cat right there, actually.
Uh-huh. And, when was this cartoon made?
1951.
I was gonna probably say, like, this looks more like, someone was doing a whole lot of LSD.
It is a bit avant-garde.
Yeah, well, this part is... The art style here is based entirely on the dream sequence that Pluto has.
Oh yeah, like, back then, like, Disney animators, like, they knew how to make trippy dream sequences.
Pluto just dreams entirely in, like, two-color communist block weirdo cartoons.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, aren't dogs supposed to be like, colorblind or something? Or is that's just a myth?
I will put a title card here, giving a definitive answer if it does exist. And Goofy did mention that he was last in Tomorrow City and this area around it. This area is actually called the Ancient Ruins.
Not Goofy, animatronic Goofy.
Animatronic Goofy, exactly, yes.
The Goofinator.
I'm expecting to see some real, like, uncanny valley mechanical stuff. Like, I wanna be creeped out by this Goofy.
Well, you might.
5 Nights at Goofy's.
And of course, new area, which means new costumes for the enemies.
But of course.
So our objective is to raise the Nautilus. Obviously a riff on the Nautilus from Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which had a famous Disney live-action adaptation in the 50s. I think it was actually one of the first purely live-action films produced under the Walt Disney banner.
So is Tomorrow City basically supposed to be homaging, like, all those speculative fiction type of things?
Not really. I mean, Tomorrow City itself is mostly based on Tomorrowland from the theme parks. And if my trip to the Disney Wiki is correct, some of the architecture here might be based on one of the more obscure Disney animated films, Atlantis: The Lost Empire. Talk about Disney media that no one remembers.
I mean, I liked Atlantis.
It's a pretty good film.
Yeah, I don't think I ever actually saw Atlantis, but there was a licensed video game based on Atlantis that I remember because it was one of my first futile attempts at speedrunning when I was maybe 11 or 12 years old. This was almost 20 years ago now.
I mean, the thing I love most about Atlantis is that it's got probably like easily the largest body count of any Disney film ever made. They even joke about how many people get killed.
Maybe I'll have to watch like a Saber Spark video essay about it or something.
I mean, you could just watch the movie. Like, it's good.
Oh, but who has time for that? Now, let me watch this 7.5-hour video essay from Noah Gervais about his drive across America.
Hey, those are decent essays.
They are. And, well, that's one of Goofy's legs. Don't know what it's doing in that chest, but hey, we got it.
I think it seems like, at least in the world of video games, lost items just kind of naturally migrate to treasure boxes.
So we have to paint in these gears in order to raise the Nautilus. And there's actually a cute little trick here, because we would normally have to do some platforming to the other side. However, you stand in this gear, just enough range to paint the gear on the other side. And then you can paint this gear, and it's all done.
And here I was thinking that when you painted in the gear, it would just launch you over the rest of the way. Like, That's usually what happens with physics glitches.
Not after what happened to the very first gremlin we encountered. I think that the trauma of sending Gremlin Calvin to his death means that particular objective is out of our reach. Speaking of gremlins, there's one over here.
Wow, I kind of forgot that the whole rescuing gremlins thing was part of the game. Like, we haven't had to do it in a while.
Yeah. And we will not be able to get the pin for rescuing all the gremlins, if only because we launched Gremlin Calvin into space.
I mean, we did release him from captivity.
Now, if we had not painted in those gears, Gremlin Star would reward us by fixing the Nautilus himself. There is also a gold e-ticket, which, by painting in that extra gear, that opens up another section on the roof, but I forgot about that.
I mean, you know, you don't need to get all the money.
We gotta leave some for the working class, to keep them oppressed.
To keep them oppressed?
This is a Disney game. Yes, you need to get all the money.
This 2D level is based on Mickey's Mechanical Man from 1933, in which Mickey builds a robot named Champ. Basically, it was like an early version of a Rock'em Sock'em robot, like 30-something years before they were invented. And he builds him to fight against a boxing gorilla, which you can see right there. The gorilla's name is Beppo the Congo Killer. That is with 2 Ks.
That's an interesting way to do some platforming. Like, you just stand on your robot's head there.
Yeah, it is also a recreation of part of the fight between Champ and Beppo. In fact, that car that we just went over at the start of the level, that is Minnie's car, which in the short, the sound of Minnie's car horn is what, I believe it's what angers Champ into finally getting that extra edge he needs to beat Beppo.
Huh, is that like a Three Stooges reference? There's this one Three Stooges skit where Curly is like a boxing genius, but only if he can like hear a certain song, I believe.
3 blind mice.
You know, I'll have to do some research into that and put it on the screen, because God knows when I'm editing these videos, there's plenty for me to do already. I need more work. Now we are in Tomorrow City Lagoon. This, along with Tomorrow City proper, which we'll be seeing in the next video, is based on Tomorrowland, which every theme park around the world, every Disney theme park around the world has a Tomorrowland, except for some reason Disneyland Paris, because that has a similar area called Discoveryland.
By Disneyland Paris, you mean the infamous Euro Disney, right?
Yeah, it was originally called Euro Disney and then renamed Disneyland Paris a couple years later.
For a very good reason, that it kind of sucked.
Well, I mean, yes, it did suck, but it also didn't help that the few good things, like, for example, the fact that they used actual stone to build Sleeping Beauty's castle in a genuine attempt to recreate French architecture, I don't know. It was seen as tacky and unnecessary by much of the French media at the time.
Yeah, they called it a celebration of Western imperialism, I believe.
I see you have also been rereading Disney War.
Of course I have. I've read it like 2 or 3 times.
The audiobook is also very good. And slightly different costumes here. I might see some a bit of Tron in there, maybe.
Kind of seen it, yeah. Yeah, but definitely when you see it them from the back, they definitely got the Tron lines.
This is an area that has a couple of different ways to get through. we could either smash the gears and sort of break it into forcing things open, or we could paint in the pipes that run the thinner irrigation system.
Man, one small bottle of thinner really goes a long way.
Yeah, sure does.
Though I guess from their perspective, yeah, like in the cinematic, it was like an atom bomb falling on this world.
Yeah, I also like that. I mean, the Wasteland was not built to scale. Like, it was the miniature version of itself. Enough for it to sit on Gensid's desk.
Still though, like, where is all this new thinner coming from?
Now, I was trying to lock on to the sweeper across from there. I actually haven't talked at all about how the camera works. The camera is controlled with the D-pad, since the Wii Remote and Nunchuck does not have a second analog stick. And in order to lock on to enemies, since you use the C button on the Nunchuck to recenter the camera, and in order to lock on to an enemy, you hold down the C button for about a second, and it will then lock on to what the game thinks is the nearest enemy to you.
Ah, so kind of like Kingdom Hearts 1 targeting.
Yep.
I've been actually going through that game recently, and the pirate ship level, like, the camera direction is more of a suggestion, really.
The Japanese version of Epic Mickey 1 apparently makes some camera adjustments. I've played a bit of it, and I don't see that much of a difference, but you know what, I'll take their word for it. One other thing about the camera, that you can just hold down the left or right on the D-pad, but if you double tap left or right on the D-pad, the camera will jump about 45 degrees, similar to how it works on old Nintendo 64 platformers like Mario 64 or Banjo-Kazooie.
So it emulates C-button camera. That's kind of nice.
Wait. The crashed UFO gladiatorial challenge?
I guess we're gonna face our destiny.
How is that a thing?
I don't know. I guess we should figure out what that's all about. Also, in case you didn't notice, the two gremlins we can rescue in this area are Roger and Wilco. Once again, because we've got some unique costumes just for this part.
Can't say they didn't go the extra mile.
I just realized those are mops.
Yeah, the sweepers are based on the brooms from Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Yep, they've even got the bucket in their hands.
Yep.
And apparently our destiny is to keep collecting Disney pins for the rest of our lives.
I mean, there are worse fates in store.
Well, time to go to the next area.
So what happened there was a circular UFO just crashed in the lake, and someone said, "Hey, this thing kind of looks like a ring. Let's make an arena out of it."
Oh, Gus, I'm so sorry. Your childhood's about to be ruined.
Oh yeah, this is some real Tron stuff here, like these glowy lines.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, it's a new enemy type. This fellow is basically a mini-boss.
I'm glad that Gus has kind of spoiled us on the entire challenge here. Wouldn't want people, you know, experimenting and figuring things out for themselves.
Oh, I mean, this is downright subtle compared to how intrusive he gets in Epic Mickey 2. Believe you me. And here's a good example of the lock-on in action, which really helps against the slobber. He is invincible until he opens his mouth, and occasionally getting him to bait him to get his mouth open can be quite difficult at points. Since from what I can tell, there's no real consistency to when he will open his mouth. And because he's such a big boy, he actually takes 2 Tint or Terp Guardians to take down, when every other enemy in the game takes 1.
He just sounds like a lot of fun, really.
He's actually very helpful if you manage to paint him in.
I'm not too fond of enemies where, like, them exposing their weak points is random. Like, that just is always a sign of kind of questionable design to me.
Yeah, well, thankfully, when you use the Guardians, it doesn't matter. And this is the last major piece in Mickey's arsenal, are the sketches. The sketches are actually significantly better in Epic Mickey 2, where they're not as powerful, but they also work on a cooldown timer instead of ammo. And it actually ends up being much more fun to use them there.
I was never a big fan of the things in later Paper Mario games. Kind of work on the same principle, yeah, where you get a big old thing that can just clear the whole field, but once you use them, they're gone, so you'll never use them, you know?
Yeah. This area is based on the Carousel of Progress. The name, Great Big Tomorrow, is of course a reference to There's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, the song that would play at the Carousel of Progress. It was written by the Sherman brothers, Richard and Robert Sherman, who specialized in film musicals. They were also the ones who wrote It's a Small World.
I see.
Now, TVs will, among other things, distract enemies and friendly NPCs. One thing I forgot to show off here is that if you put a TV down in front of Mr. Rover, he is not distracted, and is the only NPC in the game who is not distracted by a television sketch, because he's already seen it.
But you are a dog.
Don't think about it too hard.
Honestly, Mr. Rover sounds like he lives a pretty miserable life.
He is also named after Rover, who was the family dog in the various Carousel of Progress attractions. And next video, we will go to Tomorrow Square. But not before going through one last bit of Plutopia. So a fun, I guess, fact about Plutopia. In Pluto's dream sequence in this cartoon, he has this rivalry with the cat, as previously mentioned. The cat pretends to be hungry constantly. And there's one sequence where Pluto is hoarding all the food, and the cat, is pretending to be starving. And in desperation, the cat actually takes a hunting rifle and threatens to shoot itself until Pluto intervenes at the last minute.
Oh my god, that's dark.
That was a scene that was basically cut from all the home video re-releases with this short.
I wonder why. Yeah, I mean, a lot of cartoons were a little bit more cavalier with the whole idea of self-inflicted gunshot wounds. Like, there's this one Pepe Le Pew cartoon that's also, I think, been similarly taken out of syndication on account of the fact that, yeah, he tries to shoot himself in the head.
And in fact, if I remember, in Space Jam 2, there was going to be a scene of Pepe Le Pew having to face various sexual assault allegations, but that never got past like the first draft of the screenplay, thankfully.
God. Oh no.
Just in case, for any kids who watch The Simpsons, just in case you thought Itchy the Scratchy was an exaggerated parody of what Warner Brothers cartoons were like, if anything, it was subdued.
I can't believe that Pepe's been cancelled.
Hashtag moi aussi.
The joke might stink.
Well, that was the worst joke I've ever made. It's only uphill from here. So stay tuned for more quality content, I guess.
There's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow shining at the end of every day. There's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow's just a dream away. Man has a dream.